Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Allah Salah, Allah Salah, Allah, Allah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, Assalamu Alaykum. Alhamdulillah, wa na'budu wa nasta'inu wa nastaghfiruh. Wa a'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbakumul ladzi khalaqakum min nafsin wahidatin wa khalaqa minha zawjaha wa batha minhumma rijalan kathira wa nisaa wa taqulu alladzi nasa'aluna bihi warhama inna Allaha kana alaykum raqiba. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida yusli lakum a'malakum wa yaghfir lakum dhunubakum wa man yuti Allaha wa rasulahu faqad faza fawzan azima. Amma ba'd. Praise be to Allah. We seek His help and His forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own souls and from our bad deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides will never be led astray. Whomsoever Allah leads astray, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is nothing worshipped except Allah. He is one, and Allah is no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad is the servant and messenger. O you believe, fear Allah as you should be feared, and do not die except as Muslims. O mankind, fear your Lord, who created you from one soul and created from it its mate and its birth from both of them many men and women. And fear Allah from whom you ask one another your mutual rights, and do not cut off the relations of the wombs. Indeed, Allah is ever watching over you. O you believe, fear Allah and speak the truth. He will amend you your deeds and forgive you your sins. And whoever obeys Allah and His messenger has certainly attained a great achievement. Amma ba'd. Inna khairil hadithi Kitabullah wa Karil Hadi Muhammadin wa Suru Umuri Mutata Duha wa Kula Mutatatin Bida wa Kula Bidatin Dalala wa Kula Dalalatin Finna. Indeed, the best hadith is the book of Allah, and the best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the worst of matters are those innovated by the people, and every innovated matter is a bidah, and every bidah is astray, and every going astray is in the fire. I'm about. I pray to Allah He will forgive our sins from the last Jummu'ah to this one, and that He will give our sins from this one to the next. And alhamdulillah, those, because we understand that, you know, we had a catch up last week. For those people who are will be tuning in, inshallah, you know, we had to do some repairs, as well as we had to, you know, some of us were not feeling 100%. This Khutbah, as promised, is going to be on Dhul Qarnayn, the possessor of two horns. In this Khutbah, this is a Khutbah that I've done before, but this is very crucial. This is the key to understanding what's going on today. This is the absolute key to understanding what's going on today. And this story is only in the Qur'an. As far as I know, the stories is in the Qur'an of Dhul Qarnayn and Gog and Magog. And So that is the possessor of two horns, and that is in Arabic Gog and Magog of Yajuj or Majuj. But part one, we have to identify who Dhul Qarnayn is first, because that is the key to understanding what we see today. What is the basis of what we covered last time of white supremacy, and why the whole myth was created and everything like that. You know, some people will go back to 1619. That's not far back enough. Some people will go back to 1492. That's not far back enough to understand what went on. The story of Dhul Qarnayn, and Allah knows best, it probably goes back between 350 maybe to 4,000 years. But you know, Allah knows best. Allah did not give a time as to this, but like I said, the first thing we got to do is identify who Dhul Qarnayn is. You got to identify the why. You know, the Quran does not identify specifically who Dhul Qarnayn is, but we, in terms of research and history, can determine who Dhul Qarnayn really was. So I'm going to read the ayats. This is Suratul Kahf, and it starts with the 73rd ayat. And so let me read. And they ask you of Dhul Qarnayn, say, shall I recite to you of a remembrance of him? Indeed, we established him in the earth, and we gave him from everything a way, so he followed the way, until he reached the setting or the place of the sun. He found a setting in a spring of muddy water, and he found it near a people. We said, O Dhul Qarnayn, either you punish them or treat them with kindness. He said, as for one who wrongs, we will punish him. Then he will be returned to his Lord, and he will punish him with a terrible punishment. And as for one who believes and does righteousness, he will have a reward of paradise, and we will speak to him from our command with ease. Then he followed the way until he came to the place of the rising sun. He found it rising on the people whom we had not made against any shelter. Thus, we have encompassed all that he had in knowledge. Then he followed the way until he reached between the two mountains. He found besides that people could not hardly understand his speech. He said, O Dhul Qarnayn, surely Gog and Magog make mischief in the land. Shall we then pay you a tribute on condition that you should raise the barrier between us and them? He said, that which my Lord has established with me is better. So help me with strength of men, and I will erect between you and them a barrier. Bring me blocks of iron until when he had filled it up, the space between the two mountainsides, he said, blow. Until when he had made it as far, he said, bring me molten brass, which I may pour over it. So they were not able to scale it nor make a hold of it. He said, this is a mercy from my Lord. But when the promise of my Lord comes, he will make it level. And ever is the promise of my Lord is true. And we will lead them in that day surging one over the other, and the horn will be blown, and we will gather them in a gathering. So first, a little history about the ayat, the tafsir from Ibn Kathir about the particular set of ayat is the story of Dhul Qarnayn, which stands from the ayat 73 to ayat 99. And according to the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, he said the final story in Suratul Kahf is the relation of Dhul Qarnayn. This story includes the story of the people of the cave as it revealed in response to the efforts of the Jews of Mecca to discredit Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The scholars had knowledge of certain tales only known to the religious elite among them, and they challenged Rasulullah Sallallahu by giving him certain key words and asking him to describe these stories in full to prove that he was indeed a prophet. Because the Jews were expecting a prophet. All right, the Jews of Arabia, they were expecting a prophet. They were expecting the Prophet Muhammad. But you know, but when he didn't, you know, basically go and agree with them, you know, they challenged him. Okay, so this is one of the challenges. So, by the only means where Rasulullah could have told them the details was if the story was revealed by Allah Himself. When actually described these incidents, Rasulullah asked the questioners to return the following day, and that he would answer their question. Then he omitted saying Inshallah. So he said, I answered your question, but he forgot to say Inshallah. This was a tiny mistake on his part, while Allah swiftly admonished him for the oversight. Usually when challenged by the disbeliever or faced with an issue, it would require divine guidance to solve. Jibreel alayhi salam, would reveal the revelation of Muhammad alayhi salam and answer the challenge. And answer the challenge was provided quickly, if not the same day itself. And within a short period of time after that, in this case. However, the day of the day passed, and as time went by, Jibreel alayhi salam did not materialize. As time passed, people speculated that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not rise up to challenge thrown by the Jews. This was a trial from Allah, and also and for admonishing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for not saying Inshallah before making a comment. So this reminder is in fact recorded in the Qur'an, where Allah says, and never say anything, indeed, I will do that tomorrow, except by saying, if Allah wills, or Inshallah. And remember your Lord when you forgot it, and say, perhaps my Lord will guide me to that which is nearer than this to the right conduct. And that's in the same Suratul Kahf. That's the 24th ayat. Eventually, however, Allah revealed the answer to Rasulullah, and they are contained in the 18th chapter of the Qur'an, Suratul Kahf. Suratul Kahf is the cave. So we're going to go over these ayats. Oh, that's the 83rd. 83rd, that's the 73. I'm at 83. Okay. So we go all right. So we have to establish the identity of Dhul Qarnayn. So we go over these ayats, the 83rd from the 83rd, and they ask you about Dhul Qarnayn. Say, I recite to him a report. So most of the scholars originally were saying Dhul Qarnayn, like Yusuf Ali, Muhammad Yusuf Ali, translated one of the earlier translators of the Qur'an in the early part of the last century, which was very popular all the way up until about the 70s, you know, and early 80s. That translation was like the most popular. And according to his tafsir, he said that Dhul Qarnayn was Alexander the Great. And if you search, you would say that Alexander, you know, they would call it the wall that it was erected between the barrier that locked Gog and Magog behind the Caucus Mountains. That barrier, some people refer to as Alexander's Wall. But if we examine Dhul Qarnayn, and Dhul Qarnayn was commanded by Allah and was in direct communication by Allah, some say Dhul Qarnayn might have been a prophet. Definitely Dhul Qarnayn, there's certain characteristics of Dhul Qarnayn that Alexander did not have. Alexander the Great of Macedonia was not a believer in Islam. The Dhul Qarnayn was a pious believer. There are many theories of who this man was and in what area he lived. However, besides the day, Dhul Qarnayn is not described in the Quran, it is not described in the Hadith. Some say it is Cyrus the Great, which is Cyrus II, the founder of the Persian Empire, or Darius the Great, Darius I. You know, these people were not Muslims. They were basically mushriks. You know, they were not believers in Allah. So these people also came a bit later on in their empires wasn't that large. Because there are three distinct characteristics that Allah describes in the Quran of Dhul Qarnayn. Number one, he is possessor of two horns. That was the seat of power. Each horn represents a kingdom. This was a combination of two kingdoms, and that was the seat of his power. Two, he ruled a vast empire that reached the extreme east, at that point all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, and reached all the way into the far east to the Pacific, and stretched all the way up north into the mountains of the Caucus Mountains, in the Caucus Mountain areas. And most of all, he was a believer in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as we study history and we try to think, well, who had a vast empire? Who was this man? If we study where he went, when he went to the west, and he found the sun setting in a spring of dark mud, of muddy water. That's what the Quran says. It was muddy. So he went to the west. Quran describes in the Maghrib, which is west. He went west. West where the sun set. If we find that a people to the west, where you can see in the Atlantic Ocean was muddy because Atlantis has sunk. When Atlantis sunk, the Atlantic Ocean became impassable. It was muddy. I don't know how long it was muddy, but Dhul Qarnayn was alive to see that the Atlantic Ocean was still muddy. Those people there that he encountered, these people are called the Haritans. They're people in West Africa. They are called the Haritans. Of the Haritans, is it, and this is the clue. DNA sampling of the ancient Egyptian mummies is scant. However, the blood typing of dynastic mummies found ABO frequencies to be the most similar to modern Egyptians, and some also to the northern Haritan. They occupied Mauritania and Western Sahara, and also described as Black Moors, Nubians, and other descendants of sub-Saharan origins. So these people are called the Haritans. Now, the hint is in what they just said, in terms of their DNA is traced back to ancient Egypt. Okay, so when he set the path of going to the east, those people there had the same name as the empire of ancient Egypt, Cam. They took that name over there. There was the same name, Cam. That's where you get the words Kampuchea in Cambodia, over that area. Also, we understand that not only there's certain people there, but specifically the people who could lay out in the sun with no shelter at all, these are the Aboriginals of Australia. They can lay out in the sun with no shelter at all. And we find in doing research that, number one, there were ancient Egyptian artifacts found in Australia, in pyramids everywhere, in mountains. But also, we find that the mummies, the oil that they use, to mummify, might not have been over the traces of eucalyptic oil. And eucalyptic oil is only in one place. It only grows in one place, Australia. So now we find that there's the people that went to the north, those people were called the Caucasians. And Herodotus said this of the Caucasians. Many ancient writers commented on the racial affinities of ancient Egyptians, while some held them to be people with black skins, quote unquote, black skins and woolly hair, similar to the Cushites. Others described as medium tone or similar to that of northern Indians. Greek historian Herodotus commented on the perceived relationship of the Caucasians from the modern Republic of Georgia in the Caucasus and the Egyptians. He stated that he was told by several Egyptians that the Caucasians were descendants from the Egyptian soldier Sesostris, and further draws a connection from the skin tone and kinky hair of the Caucasians as well as their practice of circumcision. Herodotus describes the Caucasians as melicros, meaning black or dark skin. And those are the people that we call, when I was growing up, gypsies, because that's short for Egyptian. So now we know it traces back to ancient Egypt. If we look back in an area perhaps about 3,500 years ago, we find that Egypt was ruled by pharaohs. But if you hear of all the Egyptian pharaohs, you know, a lot of them, you know, they prayed to Amen. Their names was Amen, Amen Ra. You know, there was the Amen mean the hidden. I say Ra means it's related to the sun. Ra has etymology shares with the law. But if you look at that, you find that one pharaoh stands out. That pharaoh's name is Akhenaten. Akhenaten was a believer. Akhenaten believed in one God, so to say. So Dhul Qarnayn fits Akhenaten. Egypt, and going into Egyptian history, Egyptian was two kingdoms. One kingdom was in the north, that was called Lower Egypt. The other kingdom in the south was called Upper Egypt. But the combination of those two was represented with horns. So those were the two horns. So we understand who Dhul Qarnayn was. Dhul Qarnayn was the Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten. Now Allah knows best, but this is derived through research, and then you putting the puzzle pieces all together, and it fits. So why is this important? Okay. This is important because this has a lot to do with what we see today. I'm going to go ahead and end the first Khutbah by saying Aqulu Kali Hadha Wastaghfirullah Li Lakum. Which means I say these words of mine to ask Allah for forgiveness for you. Alhamdulillahi wa salatu ala rasulillahi wa ala alayhi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Praise be to Allah, sends countless blessings on the Messenger of Allah's family, his companions, and on their followers. So you realize that number one, contrary to the popular imposition of Egyptians being Caucasians or pale-skinned people, history have recorded in Egyptians itself recording people that look exactly like us, our same skin tone. You know, they were dark-skinned people, and this is very, very key to understanding what happened in terms of the relationship between Dhul Qarnayn and Gog and Magog. As you know, the Caucasians was like, these people are causing mischief. You know, do something with them. You know, build a barrier between us and them. I wanted to go into next week's Khutbah and take off from there in terms of that barrier, because this has implications. Why? It's going to answer these questions. and I may repeat this next week, why Shaitan is portrayed by them as a dark-skinned person, and why Shaitan is portrayed them with two horns. It's very, very key to understanding that. Because one person had put, I read this a few years back. I think it was probably during 2014 when you had the rash killings of like Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and Eric Gardner, and you know, all these killings by police. And someone has said, why are police, you know, white police especially, I mean, even dark-skinned police did after that killed too. But anyway, why are they killing black men? And one person respond, but wouldn't you kill the devil? Like I said that in a previous Khutbah, I believe it was the last Khutbah, that they are taught that we're the devil. You know, and all the practices that they had when they came over here and imposing Christianity and stuff, all the practices that we had, practices that we taught them, you know, they turned it on us. And so, you know, all of this is the key story as an understanding the genesis of what happened. So I'm going to go into that next week, because this is two-part. Even though this is a part of the series of what I started about a couple of Khutbahs ago. It was the rising of humanity, the Moorish Awakening. This all has to deal with that. But this particular section of the Khutbah comes in two parts. One part, you know, we identified Dhul Qarnayn. You know, Dhul Qarnayn was a pharaoh, specifically Akhenaten, and Dhul Qarnayn was a possessor of two horns, meaning that he had possessed the right to rule both Lower Egypt and the right to rule both Upper Egypt, which is respectively Northern and Southern Egypt. So that was the seat of his power. The Egyptian influence was widespread all the way to the Atlantic, because he had control over those people, the Hurricanes, and all the way into the Pacific. He had control over the people that was in Ham, control over the people that were in Australia. They had the control. And if you read the ayat carefully, it said that there was an exchange. In Australia, there was an exchange of knowledge. Okay, so you see the exchange that I described to you. Ancient Egyptian artifacts in Australia, Australian oil in Egypt. There was an exchange. So inshallah, we're going to go into Gog and Magog. And then we're going to see, because what we are experiencing today, everything has a history. Everything you can go trace it back. It's like I said, it's like a circle. Everything is connected. Everything in the circle is connected. So everything has a history. Everything is connected to something. It's like a spirit. That's why ancestors taught. They taught spiritual. They didn't teach history as going from this to that. They taught it like this. It goes in cycles. It goes in seasons. It goes, you know, every single moment. It's related to the moment before it and the moment after it. Okay? So inshallah, next week we're going to describe Gog and Magog, their relationship with Dhul Qarnayn, and we're going to, because the law has the whole entire, not only the past, but also has what's going to happen in the future. And we see it taking place right now. We see it unfolding right now. So any benefit you receive in this Khutbah is from Allah alone. Any mistake, errors, or omission is from me and me alone. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. All I send upon Muhammad, sending prayers upon Muhammad and upon the family of Muhammad, as you sent prayers upon Ibrahim and the family of Ibrahim. Indeed, you are worthy of praise and full of glory. O Allah, send your blessings upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. As you send blessings upon Ibrahim and the family of Ibrahim, you are indeed full, worthy of praise and full of glory. And with the dua, Rabbana atina fi dunya hasanatan wa akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban. Ameen. Allah, grant us the good in this world and good in hereafter and save us from the punishment of the fire. Allahumma anta salam wa minka salam. Tabadari wa ikram. Ameen. O Allah, you are the source of peace, and you comes peace. Although you are Lord and Master and honor. Allahumma gafili wali wali daya wa mutadi wali jamil mukmani al mukmanat al muslim muslimati bi rahmatika yawm rahim amon rahimin. Ameen. Oh Allah, forgive me and my parents and my children and all believing men and all believing women, all the Muslim men and all the Muslim women, with your mercy, most merciful of all who have mercy. Rabbana talanda anfusana wa tagifna Muhammadana wa kunam min al-khasirin. Ameen. Allah, we have wronged ourselves and you do not forgive us and have no mercy on us, surely we will be of the losers. Ameen. Come to Salah. Just as an offering, Salatul Jummu'ah. To a Kasfar for the pleasure of Allah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmani Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyak na'budu wa iyyak nasta'in. Ihdini siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. أردنا ذلك ببيدين وذلك الذي يطوي يتيم ولا يخرج ولا طعام مسكين وويل للمرسلين الذين عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون يراءون معون الله أكبر سمعنا حميدا الله أكبر Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmani Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdini siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمعنا لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.